Wait, I made a change. I need to refresh.
We are going live now.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
All right. Here we are again, the April 2026 Bob community call. It is always a pleasure to be hosting this alongside Alexei, Bob co-founder. As always, I'm Pankaj, the community lead at Bob, and we've been hosting community calls almost every first Friday of the month. We had to push it back because of ETHCC last Friday, but it's going to be the same kind of alpha, the same kind of updates, and the same kind of community updates. And yeah, for April, we have a lot of things in the deck. Alexei is going to be going through all of them. As always, we also have some community questions that we've collected from the Bob Discord from all of you. So we'll be going through them as well in the very end. But yeah, as always, please RT, QT, and send it to your friends. This is going to be a recorded session, so in case any of your friends miss it out, you can always share the link with them to make sure they're up to date with everything that's happening at Bob, the Bank of Bitcoin. So with that being said, I'll hand it over to Alexei to go through the updates.
Hey, cool. So welcome to the April community call. This time we'll, as per usual, give some updates on what's been happening in the last month, some product updates, cover research and community updates, and have some time for questions in the end. So as a reminder, what is Bob? Bob is building the Bank of Bitcoin. We want to offer an alternative to traditional financial banking systems and banking products on Bitcoin rails. Bitcoin is the largest digital asset, and it's, in our opinion, the most important asset of our generation. With more and more traditional finance institutions adopting BTC, there is a risk that in 10 years from now, you'll have to ask your bank to move your Bitcoin to do something with it. And in our opinion, that would be a failure. It wouldn't be Bitcoin anymore. And that's why Bob is building the Bank of Bitcoin, to provide you with all the tools that your bank offers to you. So trading, sending funds, borrowing against them on Bitcoin rails in a self-custodial manner. This means, and there's three core pillars of what we're building this year. Bob Gateway, that's trading Bitcoin, native BTC against stablecoins and other assets across. The target is 100 plus chains. So you don't care which chain your assets are on. You can trade them against BTC, get stablecoins on and off ramp to and from fiat, and essentially you're not forced to go to centralized exchanges anymore. Second pillar is lending. And we've been doing a lot of work on native Bitcoin lending vaults. So you don't have to wrap your BTC. It doesn't have to leave your favorite custodian or your hardware wallet. And in parallel, we're working to package this in a frictionless app. So you essentially can do your day-to-day finance and build out products like Bitcoin credit cards, cashbacks, and so on top of this trading and lending infrastructure. So that's what we've been working on, and that's the Bob mission. What happened last month? So we made some updates, made some more progress on instant zero slippage Bitcoin swaps. Given partner and user feedback, we've actually renamed this from fixed rate to zero slippage to make more clear what the product actually offers to you as a user. With this new design that uses zero confirmations, we allow you to trade Bitcoin with almost, or essentially next to, zero slippage. Why does Bitcoin trading have slippage today? Well, if you trade Bitcoin on Binance, it's traded instantly, obviously, because you're trading against a centralized database. Binance has your funds and they just update your balances in a central database. But it's, you have no custody of your Bitcoin. If you want to trade while you retain custody of your Bitcoin in a non-custodial manner, so trading native Bitcoin through swaps, you have to send Bitcoin on the Bitcoin blockchain, which means it takes 10 minutes, sometimes longer, to actually process the swap. During this period of time, the Bitcoin price might change, and all protocols today that offer Bitcoin swaps, what they do is they give you a quote. So let's say they tell you Bitcoin is worth $70,000 right now, but if the price goes down, you will get whatever the Bitcoin price is in 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. If it goes up, the best you get is the original $70,000 they quoted. And as a result, at 50% of the trades, you're currently losing money. And this is what Bob is solving with our zero confirmation technology. We allow you to do instant zero slippage Bitcoin swaps. So the two benefits you get is you get fixed rates. So you know exactly what you're getting. The quote that you'll be shown is exactly the amount of Bitcoin that you're going to get, or the amount of stablecoins you're going to get. And you also get instant liquidity. So if you're trading Bitcoin for USDC, you get USDC immediately. This can be on Ethereum, this can be on Base, and you can do certain things with it. There are some limitations of what you will be allowed to do with the funds. You can consider it as your temporary trading account. And in case you try to attack the system, you try to double spend, well, there are mechanisms to protect our system and our solvers against that. So you will not be able to successfully double spend and keep your stable coins. If you try to double spend, we will revert your states, your balances, and protect our trading partners and solvers. So we have published a video of how this works so you can get a better feeling. And yeah, I've already kind of been talking about this today. If we want to build the best Bitcoin swaps engine, well, who are we competing against? We have centralized providers on Bitcoin. So they're custodial, right? You don't have to do a setup, which is nice. And the swap speed is, well, it's not fast. It's kind of still one block. So you still wait for 10 minutes plus. Some of them do offer fixed rates, but they do this only for stablecoins mostly. And usually they will charge you a much, much higher fee than what you see on other providers. So it's usually 1% plus. And then the rest of these things is not as relevant, to be fair. So the most important part this table, and that's a rather complicated table to be fair, should communicate is, again, that with this Bob swap engine design, right, you can do non-custodial swaps. You don't need any setup. You can go to the API, you can go to Bob app, or you can use this from any other integrator and wallet that will add support. You can just send your BTC or your stable coins, and then the swaps are processed. And currently it takes 10 minutes. And with this next upgrade, the swap speed is going to be 10 seconds. There are some limitations, and we can talk about this probably in the next community call once we release more details on how the system works. We don't want to leak all the secret sauce just yet. It's a competitive market, and we're currently actively testing and improving the system. And once we feel confident that it's ready to go, we'll publish the full details of how it works. And then we can dig into more details of what works well and what are the limitations and what do we need to still improve. So if you are interested to experience zero slippage Bitcoin swaps and learn more about how the system works, if you want to be one of the first testers to get access to this new Bitcoin trading system, go to gobob.xyz/zeroconf or scan the QR code, sign up to our early access, and we'll be sending out emails with early access codes in the next couple of weeks, probably. And before that, we'll probably be reaching out for some feedback and showcasing some core features. And we may be also providing access to free trading and free swaps on Bob Gateway for those users who register and help us with feedback and take time to answer questions. In return, we're looking to also offer free swap packages so you can use the Bob Gateway platform without paying fees for a certain period of time. Another big upgrade, another highlight essentially, is that over the last month, we've made a big upgrade to the swap engine. Bob was already the best on Wrapped BTC before this, and now we are by far the best provider for Bitcoin to Wrapped BTC swaps. We've made an improvement of 92% on the pricing side, which is quite significant. This is cheaper right now than on Binance, right? And it's the only option for many retail users to get into Wrapped BTC. That is still the main Bitcoin wrapper that is used in DeFi without going to one of the merchants, without having to mint hundreds or thousands of BTC at once. So for day-to-day DeFi users, Bob Gateway is the best, and in most cases, the only provider for Bitcoin to Wrapped BTC swaps and direct deposits into DeFi. At the same time, we've also added more routes. We've added routes for stablecoins on Base and BNB. We'll be adding more chains over the next couple of weeks as we go, and more assets. And we have made some major improvements to Bitcoin to stablecoin quoting as well, where we are now 74% cheaper than where we were last month. So Bob is today the best on Bitcoin to Wrapped BTC swaps, and we are competitive and essentially going back and forth with near intents, for example, for the #1 place on Bitcoin to stablecoin quotes. There is some more work being done in the background, and in the next 2 to 3 weeks, and definitely for the next community call, there'll be another major update of the routings engine, where then Bob will be the #1 also for Bitcoin to stablecoin swaps by a margin. And something that is not directly related to Bob Gateway, but there has been some updates to the Bob website and the blog that makes it better, or essentially much easier to discover for SEO and AI search platforms. So our content will be visible and picked up by bots, which is particularly important as we are putting our focus to AI agents trading BTC, and in fact have been investing quite a bit of time to make our SDK and API agent friendly, and you'll see more of this over the next couple of weeks, and definitely we'll have some more updates in the next month's community call once a few of these things go live. Now talking about the standard product updates, things that have been happening but didn't make it into the top three highlights. On the engineering side, we've been busy as usual. We have merged 133 pull requests, 27 new features were pushed. We fixed 36 bugs. Primarily these are errors on the front end, improving messaging, improving kind of the Bob app to make it more robust to handle edge cases. And the main features have been adding new routes. So now we have more routes on more assets supported on the Binance Smart Chain, and we have also updated the Base and Ethereum ETH routes that previously were down for maintenance. We've improved the error messaging, so it's much easier to understand, what the app is telling you. If you have too few funds, if you don't have enough BTC to perform the transaction, so no more cryptic developer-related messages, but everything is more user-friendly and much easier to understand. And something that is more of an alpha, but Bob now also supports trading of Bitcoin to tokenized gold, so specifically XAUT, Tether Gold, and PAXG, Pax Gold. We are the first and currently only platform to support native Bitcoin trading against tokenized gold. There'll be more to this. I don't want to leak too much information. This is already live on the main app, and there'll be some bigger announcements and bigger launches over the next couple of weeks with respect to Bitcoin and gold trading. Under the hood stuff that you don't see on the app, we have optimized how we get order statuses. This just basically makes the app feel snappier, makes performance better. We have updated automated testing, so we have 24/7 monitoring and automated testing of the app. So any performance issues, anything that kind of goes beyond the norm is immediately caught, flagged internally, and we can react and improve or fix the system. We have also improved security, so we've tightened compliance screening for recipient addresses and added some anti-phishing measures to the app as well, just to make sure that security is top-notch and that, basically our system is robust. This primarily is not related to user fund safety, but actually just to our internal security system of the swaps engine. And something more fun that isn't necessarily like a major highlight, but just to showcase the cool things you can do with Bob Gateway. Dom, my co-founder and the CTO, actually wrote a blog of how you can actually do trustless Bitcoin inscriptions. So what does this mean, right? We've had the ordinals and runes hype, even though it has died down. What we've seen is demand for RWAs being tokenized on Bitcoin. Tether has been explicitly moving into Bitcoin again with USDT. So we will see more assets minted on Bitcoin. And what this allows you to do is to trigger transactions, inscriptions, or essentially meta transactions or transactions in Bitcoin meta protocols directly from other chains as a DAO. So essentially, you can now trigger Bitcoin payments and more complicated inscriptions and Bitcoin executions of these meta protocols from any chain without essentially giving up custody. So as a DAO, you'll be able to now also send runes or inscribe runes, inscribe ordinals, or essentially mint RWAs and other assets that we see coming to Bitcoin gradually as the inscription kind of market matures. You'll be able to do this directly from other chains and as a DAO. This is just an example to showcase what else you can do with the Bob Gateway Swaps engine. So a bit more on the data side. Why are we looking at swaps? Like, what's our goal, and why are we focusing on the swaps engine? On a monthly basis, right now, 800 billion worth of BTC is traded on centralized exchanges. But the cool thing is that 50% plus of the Bitcoin supply is held in self-custodial wallets, and that's across over 50 million holders. And so the bet that we're making here is if we can convert even just 1% of the exchange traded volume onto native swaps, that's $8 billion a month market to tap into, which will dwarf essentially all the other swaps volume that we're currently seeing in DeFi. So this is really cool. And this is just, again, if we get 1% of the exchange traded volume onto things like Bob Gateway. Why do we think now is the right time? Well, with the rise of stablecoins, you no longer need a Binance, a Coinbase necessarily to trade. In fact, they're probably more painful to deal with than DeFi. Once you are in the on-chain economy, once you have stablecoins, and as we have seen now, there's a huge push to make stablecoin on-ramps easier. Most users that previously essentially had to figure out how to get from fiat into Bitcoin, they just leapfrog, they skip over traditional centralized exchanges, they get stablecoins on chain and can immediately trade on dexes. And in most cases, they don't even know, because apps have gotten so good at abstracting on-chain complexity that their UX is actually, in many cases, not better than that of Binance or other centralized exchanges. And this empowers us with Bob Gateway to essentially tap into a much larger user base of stablecoin holders that previously would have swapped native USD or fiat dollars for BTC. Now they can do this on chain in a much more transparent and powerful manner, fully composable, plug this into strategies, have AI agents automate this in a much more straightforward way than when dealing with centralized exchanges. So, and last but not least, something from our community. We hosted a community meetup in Nigeria, and this is one of the many local meetups that we're looking to enable to bring more users and more Bitcoin holders closer to the Bob ecosystem, explain what they can do with Bob, and essentially also learn better of how users access BTC, what people do with Bitcoin around the globe, so we can continuously improve our products. So thank you so much for attending. And if you want to host your own Bitcoin or Bob meetup in your city, in your town, let us know, reach out on X or also in our Discord. And yeah, we're happy to explore if it makes sense for us to host a local Bob meetup in your town, and learn more about how you and your community use BTC and how we can essentially improve our products to cater to your needs. That's it for this month. We have a few community questions actually that I'll still cover. Yeah, Pankaj, I just read through these, right? These are already pre-selected.
Yeah.
Perfect. Cool. So we have our top 3 questions here. What's the time looking for instant zero-conf swaps to go live, and when is early access happening? We probably expect this to go live in May. Early access will start rolling out over the next couple of weeks. We are doing some bigger updates to the pricing engine. We've prioritized to make another pricing update on Bob and roll out tokenized gold trading before zero-conf swaps, just to meet feedback and demand from some of our integration partners. But this is essentially after we finalize the pricing engine updates, and once Bob is by far the best in price, then we will roll out zero confirmation swaps. Any plans of integrating Bob Gateway with direct Aave v4 market deposits? We have actually been talking with Aave and a few other DeFi protocols. We are exploring actually what's the best way, whether it is to really make direct integrations into the apps, whether it is to roll out a widget where you can essentially deposit or fund your account with Bitcoin and then just go use the app, or whether it is building a dedicated dashboard for the top protocols. We're still in discussion, but this is definitely on our roadmap. And yeah, we'll see what the feedback is from DeFi protocols and their users. And then last but not least, Google recently revealed that quantum computers could crack Bitcoin keys with 20x fewer resources than expected. How is Bob thinking about quantum resilience for its Bitcoin banking stack? That's a good question. I mean, I think the debate about quantum computing is still ongoing. My personal take is, it should be taken seriously. We need to spend time and resources, obviously, to investigate what to do if a quantum computer emerges that is powerful enough. The point to make here is that it's really not about the tech at this point. There are quantum resistant Bitcoin signature schemes that we could use in Bitcoin. Some of them are larger, right? But at the same time, as Google released their updates, there were some new research published of how to make some of these schemes smaller so they can be used in Bitcoin. So there is progress happening. The developer community has embraced the problem. The biggest issue at hand is the political question of what happens with the old coins that are not moved with Satoshi's coins that sit in the exposed pay-to-public key addresses. What do we do with them? And to be fair, we have our opinions, we have our thoughts. But as I already said in a few other podcasts and interviews, I think this political problem will get solved the closer we get to Q Day or QC Day as some call it. And I think it's important to point out, we sit in our bubble, and obviously everybody does, right? And we, builders of Bitcoin, holders of Bitcoin, we always think about, well, the quantum computer could attack Bitcoin. Now, I'm pretty sure that researchers at Google and some, of course, are aware of this being possible, but I would place a bet that it's not their main intention to go and break Bitcoin. Their goal is far grander and much more generic of enabling much more powerful compute to solve many more problems, right? So it's not just about breaking cryptography here. So what does this mean? Well, we'll know as progress is being made, just like we hear right now, these updates and progress is being made. It's a very competitive industry with billions and billions of dollars being poured into it. So I think we should take the updates with a grain of salt. As with many things, there's always a hype, and then people realize it's maybe not as powerful as it could be. And then there's consolidation. And then, of course, things start maturing. We saw the same thing with AI, where it took quite a while until it really became powerful and production ready. But now we're using it everywhere. I do think if it's technically feasible, that these things will impact how Bitcoin is used. There will have to be a soft fork and an upgrade to a quantum resistant signature scheme. I don't think that in itself is a problem. It's more of the political question of, well, what do you do with the coins that cannot be upgraded? Do we confiscate them? Do we burn them? Do we put them back into circulation? There's a few proposals, and ultimately time will tell which one is the most healthy for the Bitcoin ecosystem. The point to make is that Bitcoin is essentially evolutionary by design. If there's different approaches, different opinions, different forks of Bitcoin that emerge, ultimately one will prevail and the others will essentially disappear. And if they do continue existing, well, then all Bitcoin holders will be happy that suddenly they have Bitcoin and coins on this other chain that might be worth something or maybe not. So yeah, I mean, from our perspective, we pay a lot of attention. We spent quite a bit of time early on, a few years back, actually researching this during our PhD research times. But there's not really much more to it right now. The Bob chain itself is not really at risk, and it's much easier, obviously, to update and react. But of course, Bitcoin as an asset, and hence the entire industry, obviously, may be impacted by this. But it won't impact us more than everybody else in the entire banking system and Google and everything else, because it's not just Bitcoin that breaks, it's cryptography as we know it today. So yeah, it's an open debate that will keep on ongoing for definitely the next couple of months and years. and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, just wanted to give some more context to the question about the Aave market deposits. So earlier in the week, we had a whale who used Bob Gateway and only paid 0.05% in fees to move almost like 2.5 BTC from Bitcoin native to WBTC. So for everyone who's not aware, that's basically the context. So yeah, do check out Bob Gateway. It's a pretty cool product.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you. And if you have more questions, definitely post them on Discord. We're always active. And as a reminder, definitely sign up for the instant zero slippage swaps waiting list under gobob.xyz/zeroconf, and mark the first Friday of May next month on your calendars for the next community call for the next updates on what's going on with Bob. Thank you so much. Have a nice weekend.
Thanks, everyone. Goodbye.